am Dr. Mollie Marti, and welcome back to Resiliency Matters. Today we are visiting with Angela Maiers, an expert in education, communication, resiliency building, and leadership. And we at Resiliency Matters, if you can't tell, and I've been pushing you on some things, are a very applied show. I'm a very applied social scientist. And you as a teacher have that perspective too, that it's essential to give children action steps, and it's essential to give our viewers these action steps.
Absolutely.
What is that connection? Why is that important?
I think you have to tell, you have to show, not tell. I mean, that's sort of the essence of what makes a good teacher is they don't tell you what to do and they don't tell you what's right to do or the research behind it. They show you. We are the models of the learners and the leaders that we wish our kids to be. And so I've spent a decade trying to give resources to those who lead learners and those who need to do the modeling, parents, community members, leaders, and give them specific things that they can point out in their actions to say, did you see me doing this? That's an example of perseverance. Did you see me doing this? That's an example of reframing the kinds of questions I ask when bad things happen or whatever it is. And I think when you do something naturally or you're really good at it, your proficiency is your deficiency. And you, like driving a car, you just sort of show up at work because you've driven it a million times. But to somebody just learning to drive, you just did 777 things in 13 seconds. So I try to help break that down in really small bites, in little, what I call $1-million conversations, these little 2 to 5 minute conversations that a teacher can have, that a parent can have, that a leader can have with an individual child or a whole school that make a huge difference in how they'll be more aware.
And I think it's so important, too, to point out that resiliency specific is a learned skill. I mean, yes, we share a belief that children are born resilient, that humans are resilient creatures, and that's where those kids keep surprising you in the way that they do. But that underlying resiliency are a lot of what you call habitudes, that combination of habits and success attitudes.
Absolutely.
I've written a book called The 12 Factors of Business Success, and we have a lot of overlap in that there are these big pieces of habits and attitudes that underlie success, underlie resiliency. So tell us a bit about the habitudes.
You're absolutely right. Resiliency is learned, and it's accelerated when we have a model of resilient examples of individuals and organizations. So if you go back to the resiliency quotient, underneath that, it encompasses those habits and those attitudes, the ability to be adaptable, the ability to ask very fierce questions, the ability to have courage and perseverance, the ability to be fueled by a conviction and passion. So there's no adult that argues that those aren't good attributes for kids to have, but there isn't really a rule book. And if there is, it's written for the business world. When you get out into the world, not when you're building the youth to go into their future. So the habitudes and all the work around it is those conversations with our youngest learners and our youngest leaders. It can be with a 3-year-old where you're actually saying, I noticed what you did, and let me tell you, that is awesome. I really appreciate that you went back and did this. Or I want to show you something that I did when I was really struggling. That's called perseverance, and to really give them the language of resiliency and to be able to label and name and claim what it is that ultimately they have to be responsible for and will be a part of their success. So.
And we were talking, you shared what I thought was a brilliant classroom activity called the 252, where teachers kind of set a tone for the beginning and end in the day. And initially you were thinking classroom, and I said, no, a parent can do that at home. And how essential is that to set the tone every day in your home with your child and bring it to a close at night? So share this tool with us.
So it's based on neuroscience and probably every other science, but the way that the brain processes is not through its frontal lobe, the thinking part of your brain. It's processed through emotions. We understand everything through how we feel. And it's really seconds, if not a minute, where you decide when you enter a place how you feel and how you're going to feel there. So the structure that we're helping put in schools is to pay attention to the first 1 to 2 minutes of school. So we call it 252. And so the first 2 minutes are the most critical, because in those moments you solidify what you said the science says, that you solidify your learners or the people that you're serving. You say, I see you, I notice you, You say their name and you recognize, thank you for showing up today, just simply for your presence today. And then the 5 is somewhere throughout the day, and this is really important, during practice, during struggle. That's when coaches step in. They don't step in after the game's over. But during practice, I use this as a technique that I call loving up, to show that in that moment, especially that moment of struggle, can you whisper something in a learner's ear that you can think about if it was said at that moment, they would charge back into the field. And I actually saw this being done with my son, where he made a really not good move in football, and the coach pulled him over, and I thought was going to say something really destructive, and I was going to like jump out of the stands like, that is my baby boy. And he whispered something in Ryan's ear, and he charged back onto the field. And I'm like, we should be doing that every day. We should not try to fix that there's hardness. We should say something that says, I believe you're capable, go forward, move forward fast. And so I asked teachers to block out 5 minutes of their day and pick 5 students, or block out 5 minutes of your day and pick 5 people in your life and say one thing whispered in their ears that will help them charge through their day. And then the last 2 minutes of the day is equally important, because the brain processes the totality of the experience, how you feel when you came and how you feel when you left. And your absolute obligation as a leader is, no matter how they came to you, they must feel that when they've left the experience with you, that they are stronger, that they are better, that they are more capable. And the goal is for them to run back into the hardness with you, because they know that you matter to them.
What a great way to end. I want to put up all 3 of our takeaways today. That third one is about resilience being a learned skill. So study it and put it into action.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on Resiliency Matters on MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.